And increasingly for me, it's about character. And I think one of the great differentiators and one of the things certainly important to me as a parent is what are the values and what are the core messages that my kids are taking away. You know, and as they prepare to leave the nest and go out into the world, what's that foundation? So that we know that they're going to be charged, eventually many of them, with being leaders. Will they lead with integrity? Will they lead with responsibility, not to the here and now, but to a much longer sort of destiny out there on the horizon? And I believe that that is absolutely critical for the future of all of us sitting in this room. If they can't get that right, think about the mess we all find ourselves in right now, and it's in sort of a paralyzed leadership structure that doesn't seem to be able to wrestle its way out of this currently. The stakes and the issues are going to get more complex for these kids. But if they're grounded in a real sense of who they are and what they stand for, I think good things will come from that. Because if you're making decisions with that kind of lens, in my experience, generally very positive things happen. So foundation, philosophy, key number one. Second thing I would look for is metrics, measures. Okay, you guys say you're a great school. Well, where's the proof? You know, where's the documentation? Where's that kind of data come from? This is more of, I'm a data freak. I love data. So I'm always seeking data. Well, I think as good consumers, you want to seek data too and figure out, okay, what are some of the key metrics that I want to understand about sending my kid up to the upper school at Isadora Academy? And if you look at any metric that I'm aware of in the life of our school, they're all extremely positive. And I can get into specifics later in Q&A if we want to do that, but I would say here would be some pretty compelling metrics. 100% of our kids are accepted and go to four-year colleges and universities. Beginning and end, basically, for some people, of the conversation. I had 55 realtors in here this morning from Lakewood Ranch, and they were blown away just by that one statistic. They couldn't believe that the school was doing that. Well, that's the culture, that's what we expect, that's what's going to happen. Very predictable. Then beyond that, you say 91% of those graduates going on to four-year colleges and universities, 91% of them will receive an unsolicited merit scholarship based on last year's class. And that
David talked about leadership and preparing our students to be able to be leaders far beyond their careers here at OVA. One of the best ways to ensure that that happens is to put them in positions of leadership now, to be sure that they're getting practice at that. And that's one of the things I'm so pleased to have inherited here in the upper school, but also feel like we're doing some good work to even expand those opportunities. For example, our Honor Council, and I know that there's an Honor Council experience in the middle school. One of the things we're continually working on is how to expand those leadership opportunities for our students, and the Honor Council is just one example. It is such an important aspect of our school life and our school culture, the notion of having students have a very, very strong leadership voice in how those core values that we think are so important, how those are conveyed and how those are demonstrated on a daily basis. It's one thing for us as the grown-ups in the building to be championing those virtues, but it's an entirely different thing, and I think a more effective thing for the students to be championing those. So it's something we're very, very conscious about, is giving those students a voice and continuing to try to find ways to elevate that voice. Another example of where that is taking place is in our community service programs. We have one problem with community service in the upper school, and it's that there are so many programs that are being initiated by our students, not by the adults, by our students, that we just have to play traffic cop. And we have to restrain some of our students and say, we're going to do this, but we're just not going to do it tomorrow. We're going to do it in a week or a month or a little bit down the road. That's the only problem we're having with our service program. It's really a wonderfully refreshing and energizing thing to see our students demonstrating that kind of initiative for such noble virtues. So yet another opportunity for leadership.
Here's a really interesting statistic. Those students coming from the elementary school, 93% of them were offered unsolicited merit-based scholarships. So those kids that systemically come through the lower school to the upper school, their margin of scholarship's a little bit higher. Those that come and start in middle school, which today is 7th grade, tomorrow, next year, it'll be 6th grade, their percentage of scholarships is 90%. So if the kids come through the elementary and the middle school, they have the highest rate of return in terms of those unsolicited academic or merit-based scholarships. Just one last statistic I'll leave you with is the SATs. It's sort of the same good news. Those kids that start in the elementary school, their average SAT is about 1260 on critical reading and the math. Okay? That's about 250 points above the national average. That would put the average kid coming out of the elementary school in about the 85th percentile nationally, which would mean only 15% of the kids that take the SATs with the intention of going to college actually do better. Okay? And those that start in middle school, it's a little bit lower, it's 1235. After middle school, it's a little bit lower, it's about 1190 on average. You got to remember, if your kids are starting in middle school, you shouldn't panic. Oh, it's a lower SAT. That's an average. 50% of the kids beat that average, right? 50% of the kids don't beat that average. That's what the average is, but it's still hovering around 1200, so I think it's a great benchmark.